All right, let's talk about those high-stakes, high-pressure moments where it feels like every single eye in the room is on you. We're not just going to talk about how to survive them. We're going to talk about how to turn them into a chance to show real confidence and, command some genuine authority.
You know that feeling, right? You're in a meeting. You've just presented your big idea, and then someone just lobs a grenade of a question your way. Your heart starts hammering, your palms get sweaty, and your mind just goes blank. It's a horrible feeling, and we're going to break down exactly how to master it.
So in that split second, our fear brain, the amygdala, it just hijacks everything. It's that primal fight-or-flight response kicking in. And that urge to immediately push back, to talk faster to prove you're right, it's overwhelming. But here's the secret. That natural instinct is probably the single worst thing you can do.
So if our gut instinct is totally wrong, what's right? Well, the answer is kind of weird. It's completely counterintuitive, and that's what makes it so powerful. The real power move in a high-pressure moment is to do the exact opposite of what your body is screaming at you to do. It's all about deliberately slowing down.
And look, this isn't just a gut feeling. This is actually backed by some really fascinating research. Social psychologist Amy Cuddy's work shows that when we rush our response, we're subconsciously signaling panic and, frankly, submission. Real authority, that true presence, it comes from having the confidence to just take your time.
So here it is, the simple, actionable thing you can do. The next time you get hit with a tough question, do nothing. For 2 full seconds. Just pause, take a breath. Now it's going to feel like an eternity to you, but to everyone else in the room, it signals complete and total control.
And I mean, just look at the difference here. Rushing just screams panic and reaction. But that 2-second pause, it communicates confidence, it communicates control, and it communicates thoughtfulness. You're basically telling everyone, I am not threatened by this. I'm considering my response. It gives you the space to think, and it projects this unshakable authority.
Okay, so you've paused, you've taken control of the moment internally, but what do you actually say? This brings us to the next tactic, which I call the art of agreement. The goal here isn't to fight fire with fire, it's to disarm them with connection.
The legendary Dale Carnegie taught this years ago. He basically said the only way to win an argument is to avoid it completely. When somebody challenges you, your goal isn't to prove them wrong, it's to bring them over to your side. And that whole process, it doesn't start with conflict, it starts by finding some common ground.
This table just lays it out so perfectly. So the challenge is, this plan is too expensive. The defensive, knee-jerk response is to argue, right? Actually, it's cheaper than, and bam, you've just put up a wall. But look at the authority response. You are right to be concerned about the budget. It doesn't argue, it validates. It instantly lowers their guard.
This is a framework you can use every single time this happens. So, step 1, validate their concern, just like in that example. Step 2, find that common ground. You could say something like, we also treated cost as a primary constraint. See? Now you're on the same team. And only then, step 3, do you pivot back to your point. Let me show you how this investment actually prevents a much larger loss down the road. Validate, connect, and then pivot. It works. Okay, so we've covered how to handle a single challenge in the moment. Now let's kind of zoom out. How do you structure an entire presentation to maintain that authority, especially when you know you're going to get to a Q&A? Well, presentation expert Garrett Reynolds makes a really powerful point about this. He argues that the last thing your audience hears is the thing they'll remember most. You just can't leave that final crucial impression up to chance. You have to design it and you have to control it. And this brings us to what might be the single most important rule of managing a room. Never, ever, ever end your presentation on the Q&A. And why is that? Because if you do, the last thought in everyone's mind isn't going to be your powerful, inspiring vision. Nope, it's going to be some random, maybe even negative question from the audience. You completely lose control of the narrative. Instead, the winning strategy is to follow this sequence. First, you deliver your core presentation. Then, you open it up for Q&A. Handle every question, every objection, everything they can throw at you. But after that very last question, you take the floor back. You deliver a short, powerful, pre-planned finale that brings everybody right back to your core message. You always get the final word. All right, now for the ultimate test of confidence. What on earth do you do when you're asked a question and you just do not have the answer? This moment right here is where true authority is either forged or completely broken.
You know, our instinct might be to bluff, right? To guess, to try and save face. But what if the strongest, most authoritative thing you could say is actually something much simpler and a whole lot more honest?
Saying this is just incredibly powerful. Admitting you don't know something doesn't make you look weak. It makes you look honest and totally secure. Bluffing just signals insecurity, and honestly, it breeds contempt. But honesty, that builds trust. And trust is the absolute foundation of authority.
So here's the playbook. First, just admit it cleanly. No apologies needed. Second, pivot immediately from what you don't know to what you will do. Show them your process. Third, give them a specific, committed follow-up. It shows you're accountable. And finally, just move on. Don't linger on it. You've handled it with integrity and confidence, and that's what matters.
So, that's really the choice, isn't it? Pressure reveals our training. In those critical moments, we can let our instincts take over and just react with panic. Or we can pause, connect, control the narrative, and lead with authentic authority. The choice is yours.